Two people earn the exact same income, let's say about $84,000 a year. But fast forward 10 or 20 years, and one of them is financially free, while the other is still stuck in the same place. So why does that happen? In this video, we're going to look at the habits, mindset, and money decisions that separate people who build wealth from people who stay broke. And you'll see something very important. Having the same income as someone else does not mean you'll end up with the same life. The first thing to understand is that how much you make is only one part of the equation. Unfortunately, it's also the part people love to talk about. Income sounds impressive. Job titles sound impressive. A nice house, a new car, and expensive vacations look impressive. But boring habits like budgeting, avoiding bad debt, and investing consistently are usually what create real stability. And recent data makes this very clear. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the median household income in America is about $84,000 a year. According to NerdWallet's 2025 data, 38% of Americans with household incomes above $100,000 say they live paycheck to paycheck. And according to a 2025 Goldman Sachs study, about 41% of households earning between $300,000 and $500,000 a year also reported living paycheck to paycheck. Even among households making more than $500,000 a year, about 40% said they struggle to make progress toward long-term financial goals. So how is that possible? If someone makes $300,000 a year, you would assume they're doing great. And $500,000 a year sounds like financial victory. But the truth is, a high income can disappear very quickly when it turns into higher payments, bigger debt, and a more expensive lifestyle. It usually comes down to three common mistakes. Mistake number 1, too much debt. The first common mistake is having too much debt. Credit cards and loans make it very easy to live beyond your means. And monthly payments on things that lose value, like cars, can quietly destroy your future wealth. Imagine two friends, Michael and Nathan. They both earn about $84,000 a year. Michael has $5,000 in credit card debt at about 21.5% interest. To pay it off in about a year, he needs to put roughly $500 a month toward that debt, including interest. That means $500 a month is not going toward savings. It's not going toward investments. It's not building his future. Nathan, on the other hand, has no credit card debt. So he can take that same $500 a month and invest it, for example, in a broad stock market index like the S&P 500, assuming a long-term return around 8% a year. In 1 year, Nathan invests $6,000. And if that $6,000 stays invested for about 30 years, it can eventually grow to more than $60,000. So the difference is not just $5,000 of debt. The difference is the future money that debt prevents you from building. One person is paying for yesterday. The other is buying tomorrow. That's why one of the best milestones to aim for is having zero consumer debt, except maybe a mortgage. And personally, I think cars should be paid off too. A car loan on a depreciating asset is one of the easiest ways to keep your money from working for you. Mistake number 2, lifestyle inflation. The second habit that destroys wealth is lifestyle inflation. Lifestyle inflation means every time your income goes up, your spending goes up with it. You get a raise, so you upgrade the car. You get a bonus, so you book a better vacation. You make more money, so DoorDash several times a week suddenly feels normal. And none of these choices look crazy by themselves. But together, they can eat the entire difference between earning more and actually becoming wealthier. There's a book by Morgan Housel called The Psychology of Money. One of the biggest lessons from that book is that financial success is not just about intelligence, it's about behavior. The book talks about Ronald Reed, a man who worked as a gas station attendant and janitor. He lived modestly, invested patiently, and left behind almost $8 million. He didn't look rich, he didn't act rich, but he quietly became rich. And that's the point. Wealth is often invisible. The car is visible. The house is visible. The vacation is visible. The new phone is visible. But investments, no debt, and peace of mind are not. A lot of people look rich because they spent the money. Other people become rich because they kept and invested it. For one person, lifestyle inflation is a $6 coffee every day. For another, it's constant food delivery. For another, it's a new car payment because the old car suddenly feels embarrassing. The problem is not one purchase. The problem is when every increase in income becomes a new monthly bill. Mistake number 3, not tracking your money. The third common mistake is not tracking planning or budgeting your money. It's easy to spend mindlessly when you don't see the full picture. Someone might buy lunch every day at work, even though their company provides food. They think it's just a sandwich. But at the end of the month, that just a sandwich could be $150 or $200. When people first start tracking expenses, many are shocked because they had no idea where the money was actually going. And this becomes even easier when we pay with credit cards, debit cards, or tap to Met. MIT researchers found that credit card purchases can activate reward areas of the brain more than cash purchases. In simple terms, paying with a card can feel less painful. You don't see the cash leaving your hand. You just tap, swipe, and move on. That convenience is powerful, but it can also make overspending easier. And this matters even more now. According to Bankrate's 2026 Emergency Savings Report, 60% of Americans say they are uncomfortable with their level of emergency savings. And among those who feel uncomfortable, 36% have no emergency savings at all. So for many people, the problem is not just that they don't have a perfect budget. It's that one car repair, one medical bill, or one missed paycheck can create a real crisis. If you know where your money is going, you can make better decisions. If you don't, your money makes decisions for you. So those are the 3 mistakes: too much debt, lifestyle inflation, and not tracking your money. Now let's look at 3 habits that help people build wealth. Good habit number 1, pay yourself first. The first habit that leads to wealth is paying yourself first. Most people do the opposite. They get paid, pay bills, buy food, go out, order things, and then hope something is left. But usually, nothing is left. Imagine someone has $2,500 in checking. They get paid $1,500. 2 weeks later, their account is back to $2,500. The paycheck came in, the paycheck went out. Paying yourself first flips that around. If you get paid $1,500 every 2 weeks, you might move $250 immediately into savings, investments, or an emergency fund. Not later. Not if there's money left. Immediately. That way, your future is not dependent on willpower. At the end of the month, it becomes part of the system. Good habit number 2, invest as early as you can. The second habit is investing as early as you can. Let's go back to Michael and Nathan. Nathan starts investing at 20. He invests $2,400 a year for 10 years, from age 20 to 30. So he contributes $24,000 total. Michael spends his 20s going out, buying food, drinking iced coffee, and living paycheck to paycheck. Then, at 30, he realizes he needs to get serious. He starts investing the same $2,400 a year and does it for 35 years, from age 30 to 65. So Michael contributes $84,000 total. Who ends up with more? At 8% a year, Nathan can still finish with more money because his investments had more time to grow. Nathan invested less of his own money, but his money worked longer. That's the power of compound interest. If Michael never invested at all, he could reach 65 with nothing to show for it. Meanwhile, Nathan's $24,000 from his 20s could grow to more than $500,000. That's why starting early matters. Not because later is impossible, but because later usually requires more money, more effort, or more time. Good habit number 3, focus on assets. The third habit of someone who ends up wealthy is focusing on assets, not liabilities. Wealthy people try to put money into things that can make more money or grow in value over time. Stocks, real estate, a business, retirement accounts, skills that increase earning power. These are assets. Liabilities drain money from your wallet. A car payment is a simple example. A car usually loses value over time. And if you finance it, you also pay interest on something that is going down in value. That's a tough deal. So if two people have the same income, but one spends heavily on cars, luxury items, and things that depreciate, while the other buys assets, their net worth can look very different over time. Now, there's one more thing we need to talk about: the psychology of money. Because personal finance is not just math, it's also fear, status, family history, stress, and mindset. One person may have a scarcity mindset. They constantly worry about money, even when they technically have enough. They may avoid investing because risk feels like a direct path to losing everything. This often comes from real experiences: growing up poor, watching parents struggle, living through crisis, or seeing money disappear before. But scarcity can also show up the opposite way. Some people feel so stressed about money that they spend for quick relief, eating out, buying things, or using shopping as a way to feel control. An abundance mindset is different. It doesn't mean spending recklessly. It means seeing money as a tool to invest, learn skills, build options, and create a better future. Someone with this mindset might spend $3,000 or $5,000 on education, a business event, or a skill, because they believe it can create a return. That difference in mindset is another reason two people with the same income can end up in completely different places. So what should you actually do? First, make a plan. Start with a basic budget. Know what comes in, what goes out, what debt you have, and what you want your money to do. Second, attack consumer debt. High interest debt, especially credit card debt, can work against you faster than investments work for you. Don't wait until the end of the month. Move money immediately towards savings, investments, or an emergency fund. Fourth, invest consistently. You don't need to be a Wall Street genius. You need a simple plan, time, and consistency. And finally, live on less than you make. That may sound boring, but it's the foundation, because the difference between two people with the same income is not always the paycheck. One person turns income into freedom, the other turns income into new payments. And over 10, 20, or 30 years, that difference can change everything.